Minutes of April the 16th, 2026. Has everybody got a chance to view them? All right, do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Do we have any committee report that's not listed? All right, thank you. We move to the old business. And old business is a preliminary master plan of Doster Road and PUD, location Highway 82 bypass and Doster cutoff, Doster Road. The owner is Prattville Development Group with Matthew Widar. And the representative is BSI Incorporated. Is it anyone like to get up and speak? Because this is a public hearing. Huh? This from district, from 7, District 7. Is a representative here? All right.
Good afternoon, Blake Rice, BSI. Here before you today, looking for preliminary master plan approval and ultimately a rezoning request to a PUD for a master plan mixed-use project located on Doster Road, Doster Cutoff, and Highway 82. It is a 230 acre parcel totaling 347 residential units of a standard detached single-family subdivision style, with an additional 53 acres totaling 4 commercial buildings over 2 commercial corner parcels at Doster Cutoff and 82, as well as a detached small lot subdivision and a 10-acre multifamily site located to the very east of the property adjacent to the railroad tracks. I have been before this commission many times talking about master plan mixed-use communities, and this is one of the first times that we have been able to come before you and bring a predominantly residential development that is a true master plan mixed-use community that does have a commercial component at the location it needs to have. If you look at the layout, I think everybody would agree that, you know, the Doster Cutoff Highway 82 intersection is best served one day in the future as a commercial intersection. The rest of the property to the north of there along Doster Road is currently a very rural type area, and the family that owns this property feels very strongly that it needs to remain looking like a very rural type area. So what you'll find is all along Doster Road, what our plan is to have large acreage estate lots. Start at 2 acres and go all the way up to, I believe, 9-acre lots that will encompass the entire Doster Road frontage. And from that point, the plan is to have individual driveways into those large acreage estate lots, only clear what's necessary for a home site and a yard for a home, and each lot would be built individually, cleared individually, to retain the rural nature and feel that Doster Road currently has in that area. And then behind that, to construct a more traditional detached single-family neighborhood on the north side. And as you move east along Doster on the south side of Doster, as it becomes a more currently industrial area, to have some transitional housing of smaller, more dense nature between the traditional detached single-family and the industrial properties to the east. So that is a base understanding and explanation of what you have before you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from any commissioners at this time?
Chair, do you want the staff report?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. This is a request for a preliminary PUD master plan. The area is located along Highway 82, Doster Road and Doster Cutoff. It's approximately 262 acres. The current zoning is FAR and T1. You can see that there. And the future land use designation is low-density residential, medium-density residential, and a small portion of light industrial. The site is mostly undeveloped land with scattered existing buildings. The proposed PUD is a mixed-use master plan, a coordinated phased development mix of commercial and varied residential uses supported by open space and on-site detention. There'll be a total of 542 residential units comprising 347 single family of low to mid density and approximately 75 lots of high density, 120 multi-family units and 4 commercial buildings. And included in the single family lots are the 19 estate lots that were previously described. I think it's important when you're reviewing a PUD master plan. The purpose is to provide flexible land use regulations and development standards. And as one of the things that you do as a board is there are some things in here that vary from conventional zoning districts. And that's one of the things you have to consider when you're looking at a planned unit development. The single-family residential units will have a density of approximately 1.89 units per acre, which is below the maximum density of 9 units per acre as allowed in a PUD. This is in accordance with the comprehensive plan, which shows the area's future land use to be low to medium density of 3 to 5 units per acre. The majority of the proposed single-family lot widths are consistent with single-family requirements. However, the proposed 50-foot wide lots do deviate from the conventional residential zoning districts, and that's one of these areas where you're being asked to approve something that doesn't necessarily meet the requirements of single-family units. The residential mixed-use lots have a density of 3.52 units per acre. The multi-family have a density of 12 units per acre, and both of these comply with the requirements of PUDs. The 55-foot wide lots, though, are below the conventional residential zoning district requirements. The proposal meets the open space requirements. With regard to setbacks, front setbacks of 25 feet, rear of 20, side of 6, and side yard on street of 15. Again, the proposed front setback is compliant, but the other setbacks are generally less than required in the code. The applicant acknowledges that certain proposed uses will require a special exception. These include, but are not limited to, alcohol sales for on-premises consumption, gas station, and fast food restaurants. There will likely be 5 or more separate property owner associations within the development. A traffic study has been submitted which recommends a right turn lane on westbound US Highway 82 and a right turn lane on southbound Doster Road Cutoff. The primary element of these would be the westbound right turn lane on US Highway 82, but this would not be required until after completion of phase 1, which is the estate lots. As the retail uses are currently speculative, It's recommended a follow-up assessment of traffic operations be undertaken once the land uses for the retail parcels are more definitive. The application is missing some data which we will require. We can't determine at the moment whether the commercial parking, proposed parking, will meet the requirements of the proposed uses. And with regard to the multi-family site development, there are certain development standards which are required in the code, but we don't know if these have been met or not. And again, there are parking requirements. Staff finds the proposal substantially complies with the planned unit development section of the code and conventional zoning district regulations. Again, some standards do vary, and that's really what you're here to determine and discuss. And the recommendation is for approval, although we do note that additional information will be required on the commercial and the multifamily sections.
All right. Do we have any questions? Any comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
The Doster Road area that this is going to be running through this area, is this road satisfactory for the amount of traffic we're going to be putting on it according to the plan you have here? I mean, this is a mixed-use development, and I've been saying for a long time we need them. I'm just wondering if this specific Doster Road is set up initially as it is to handle this much influx of traffic that we're going to be adding to it.
Sure. I had some initial concerns specifically about the Doster Cutoff 82 intersection and how this development would affect that intersection. And so, atypical from what would usually happen, we have already completed the traffic study for this project, and it has already been submitted to the city. What it shows is the Doster Road section itself is perfectly adequate, and there are no infrastructure improvements needed for Doster Road. Now, once any development goes past the 19 estate lots, then there will have to be some immediate upgrades to the Doster Cutoff Highway 82 intersection in the way of, I believe, left turn lanes off of Doster Cutoff onto 82, and maybe a right turn decel lane off of 82 onto the cutoff. What the traffic study also shows is there is a potential, and it's the reason that Mr. Adams alluded to this, and it actually says it in the traffic study, that when an actual commercial proposal comes in, when the commercial is tied down a little more and you know exactly what uses are going in, the traffic study shows that it would be advisable to update the traffic study with new counts and looking at the actual proposed uses to see at that point if the commercial triggers the necessity for a request for signalization to the DOT. Right now, all of the residential development would trigger the necessary turn lanes at Doster Cutoff and 82, but it would not trigger, it would not meet the warrant requirements from the DOT for signalization, but adding in the commercial, it could.
So it's 347 units that's going into this area.
Yes.
So that's 347 units. You average 2 cars per. We're now looking at several hundred vehicles up and down. We look at Doster Road from the well, just from the sanitation department up to 31. We're not going to put 600 more cars on that road. The reason I ask that question is, we have Glenbrook off Old Ridge Road, and we have quite a bit of traffic issues and concerns around Old Ridge Road because we constructed a large area of houses on a road we didn't necessarily, get in the right size and ability to handle that traffic. I don't want to end up in another situation like this again with Doster Road. So at least on the front end, I would rather make sure we're kind of straight in that area, and if the developer needs to do some assistance with us on widening or improving the road to whatever degree, because a lot of times we put houses in an area, in a green space, cut down all the trees, put the houses in, nice sidewalks, the housing development's nice, but then the infrastructure outside of that, like Doster Road, suffers. So that's one of my concerns.
And I will say, Glenbrook was started 16 years ago. I dare say staffing is different with the city of Prattville today than it was then. No traffic study was ever done. No traffic study was ever requested. It was requested that all that was done was some turn lane improvements at the access points. And if you look at Glenbrook, the Old Ridge Road itself is really not the problem. The actual transmission is not the problem. Where it becomes problematic is at both ends, where at the intersecting points, specifically where Old Ridge Road tries to come back to Fairview or 14. And that area right there is really what's more problematic than the ability for Old Ridge Road to handle the traffic. It's still operating at an acceptable level of service. What another issue there is when you start looking at those type of developments, additional connectivity is always important. The good thing about this project is you have direct connectivity to Highway 82. You're not trying to pack all of the mass of houses, Glenbrook and River Chase North, and I can't think of the one across the street, and Ridge at Pratt Farms. I mean, it's, thousands of houses up there that are all trying to make it through an intersection either of
Right.
Old Ridge Road
So-
and 31 or Old Ridge Road and Fairview.
So I'm thinking of the opposite direction on Doster Road where it goes into downtown. So when you have 357 units and you now have 700 plus vehicles, and half of them up and down, those of us that grew up here on Doster Road know that Doster Road is a fairly quiet road and not very much travel road historically.
Sure.
And now we're gonna put quite a bit of traffic on that road, and people are gonna leave there and go downtown. So they're gonna drive
You
the
will.
opposite direction and go downtown. So, as a councilman, I don't wanna be, putting on the next councilman or myself in 3, 4, 5 years, having to pay to upgrade Doster Road because we didn't think about it on the front end. So that's just one of my concerns with this is the traffic that we're gonna see, the increase of traffic. That's my biggest concern. Not that it's a mixed-use community. I've said many times in here before, that's what I'm looking for, is more of a mixed-use community. But even with a mixed-use community now, not only the homes, but now you've got businesses that are gonna bring in additional traffic into the businesses. And Doster Road is just, it's a stumbling block for me right now for that.
I would encourage you to request a copy of the traffic study and look at it, and you can see the levels of service that it's operating at now, which is very, very low. If you look south, you've got direct connectivity to 82. If you look east, you've got direct connectivity to 31. Those are major transmission avenues inside the city of Prattville. So what you're never going to see, I guess, except on a Friday night during the fall, is a mass migration of these families into downtown. These people come out and they use the connectivity like spokes of a wheel. They go in every direction because they're going to work, they're going to schools, they're going in different places. So I think the other than for events and football games
Well,
and
they're gonna
stuff
be
like
coming,
that.
they're gonna be coming downtown to the courthouse, they're gonna be coming downtown to the park, they're gonna be coming downtown to City Hall, they're gonna be coming downtown for football, they're gonna be coming downtown.
Sure.
They're gonna be coming down, that's the straight shots down that road.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's, several hundred more cars now a day on a road that typically is, anyway, that's my concern.
All right, Ms. Carpenter?
I just,
Turn
had
turn
some,
your mic on.
had some concerns. I think it's a good plan, I like that. And I like that the whole plan is here, so anybody buying anywhere in this development knows what's scheduled everywhere. I do have a few concerns, not, the number of 50-foot and 55-foot lots. That's over 180 lots. That seems like a lot to me. That's a very dense and I'm looking at the 50-foot lots, there's no green space to speak of. In the middle, we have required developers to have parks before, and not just detention ponds, I know that's green space, but it's not usable green space, really. That seems like a lot of density with very little green space. And the other thing is what are the traffic calming devices? It looks like there's lots of straightaways, long, I know they meet code in the fire department, but it looks like a big stretch of somebody could go really fast. So those are my, and the other thing is, on a 50-foot lot, can you do any kind of garages that aren't front facing?
No, ma'am.
See, so that's 180-something lots that are going to have front-facing garages.
Blake, I'll speak to the traffic calming briefly. We are now requiring, as part of the construction plans, to look at that and try not to have more of a distance of 600 to 800 foot without some type of, whether it be intersection, speed table, curve in the road. So that part would be reviewed by the engineering department during the construction plan process.
Well, and I know, but this is our chance to talk
Right,
about.
right. And I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew, I felt like it was a good opportunity to
Yeah.
let you know that we are now, that I don't think that's been done in the past, but we are
that's
now
good.
requiring that on every subdivision development.
Well, and I think this is our time to talk about this. And in the developer, his job is to ask for the moon, that's, but it's also our job to think about other things and what has been done before. And
Right.
it's a lot of density to me, especially with the 50 and the 55-foot lots. That's an exception. The R3 is a 60-foot,
Well, and I can speak to a good bit of that. As far as the traffic calming goes, historically, there was a thought process that, specific to the city of Prattville, that even internal to developments, we needed free-flowing streets. I have never been a proponent of that thought process. Everywhere else that we develop, I attempt to always stop every intersection within a development. I want a stop sign on every leg of every intersection because I don't want anybody in here going above 25 miles an hour. So I will say publicly, I would be asking for always stop intersections. If I can be allowed to place speed tables and traffic calming devices, I'm going to do it because that is our goal and it is how our residents continue to enjoy their development. So we have tried to institute all kinds of traffic calming, and this would be one where if you look like on the west side, just north of Doster Road, the road that parallels Doster, I'm going to be asking for that not to be a free flow. Every one of those intersections, I want it to be a three-way stop so that nobody ever has a chance to get up to greater speeds. And I would welcome the ability for speed tables, speed humps, things like that. Any of that we would love.
Can you talk about 180?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Front facing, because, in this density, people park on the street, you're not gonna be able, the flow, I can just see as a nightmare for people that live there.
So I think there's a bit of misunderstanding about the number of units. So we only have 75 of those type of units that you're talking about, and they are shown as Phase 7 in the yellow on the south side of Doster Road.
What is the 50?
The
Where's the
50-foot
50-foot
lots,
Where are
those are rear alley lights, and they are only located in Phase,
Is that the gray?
yes,
Is that
ma'am,
the gray?
the gray. Those are rear alley lights. They are not accessed from the front. Their garages, they do have garages. Their garages are accessed from their rear alleys. And there are,
107.
no ma'am, there are 29 of them.
What is the 50-foot lots? I had 107 units. Where is that?
And then there are in phase four, oh, we got some in phase four. So what that is getting caught up in is an extra 120 of non-standard units out of the multifamily area. That's the other end of that.
So how many 50-foot lots are there?
50-foot lots, we have 10 plus 29, we have 39.
Well, that's different than I thought.
And that's that gray area right there on the west side.
Where are the 55-foot lots?
All the yellow.
Okay, those would be front-facing
Yes, ma'am.
garages?
Those are a different product. That is if you were to look into the, more into the narrative and everything, those are a specifically designed product. They are a small footprint product. They are not typical. Stone Martin is not currently building that product in Prattville. It is a smaller product.
What square footage are you talking?
I can answer that if you give me just a moment.
Because that's 75 front-facing garages.
Yes, ma'am.
For sure.
All located in one location, specific for that intended purpose. And those square footages are at, and I apologize, I'm getting used to needing reading glasses for the first time, so I'm not very comfortable with them right now. They are anywhere from 1,400 to 1,800 square feet. They are a much smaller product. This is not typical. I'll be the first to acknowledge that. This is a true master plan, mixed use, multiple densities. I alluded to transitional housing earlier, and that is one of the things that I was talking about. As you move east in this project, you can see that there's thought given to where that product is
Well, I mean,
located.
I like the layout, it's not, I just worry about the parking. People are gonna be parking on the street. There's no, I just worry about when it's developed and the traffic flow. And then I know that it meets the standards for the green space.
So the area that I think you're probably most concerned about is the area in yellow, because you don't see any green space inside it. So the property on the west side of the yellow is shown as both open space and detention.
Yeah, but how is somebody gonna get there? You can't go through somebody's yard.
Well, we're gonna leave area to actually come through there.
But isn't that a detention area?
No, ma'am. That area is significantly large. The detention needed for that site would probably take up less than a third of that space. The rest of it is both amenity, open space, and a buffer between what is a significant large estate lot to the west and the higher density to the east. But we do intend, when you do something like that, you're going to have to figure out a way internal to that to have additional small pocket parks or a dog park or something like that internal to that yellow area, because that's just what these types of residents are looking for. They're looking for small, non-active green space.
Well, as a realtor, I can just tell you, this is what's a growing trend. The big box that y'all normally build, people just can't afford them. And they're looking, they don't really care, they don't care the garage faces front, so they're looking for a smaller
I was
density.
thinking about people parking on the street.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, where I live is the same situation in Buena Vista. The majority of the people that buy these homes are somebody like me, single, or don't have a lot of children, whatever. But you do occasionally get some, and yes, it does drive me nuts, because they do the same thing in my neighborhood. But the majority of people that buy these are single, young, married, older, with no children, so that's kind of why they're doing this, I think. Am I correct?
You're 100% correct, and there would be room for a double driveway for each one. There will be some parking that goes on the street when people have visitors and things like that. I completely acknowledge that. But that,
Like I said, I just want
Sure.
to talk about it.
Absolutely.
because That's what I think we're supposed to do
Yes,
with
ma'am.
this.
that product was specifically located at that area for that use, simply because it is now moving towards an industrial area.
All right, is there any further comments?
Just, I know that it was spoke earlier that the multifamily was not really done anything as of yet. Are they looking to do the build-to-rent type situation, or?
There's a thought process that you could see it again with that
Like the
request.
proposal, the last one y'all brought up, where they're all shared sewer?
More of a
just
build to rent. When you do something like this is the very first request for any type of approval. As you know, Stone Martin doesn't build that product. And that area is actually not part of Stone Martin's contract on this property. That property, the multifamily along with the commercial, will remain with the current property owners, and they will be marketing those two parcels. So I do foresee a time or a possibility where a more cottage-style build-to-rent developer would try to make use of this, and if so, they would have to come back to you for a amendment to the PUD if they wanted to go in that style of development.
And
Sure.
Turn your mic on, please.
It actually started, to my knowledge, in a lot of the college towns across the U.S. This was 15, 20 years ago, people got the idea that college students were starting to not want to live in traditional garden-style breezeway apartments, 8 units per floor, the apartments that we all saw down through the 80s and 90s. So some purpose-based student living companies started building these cottage developments. And what they are is all types of different styles of homes. Some of them look like detached single family, and they're stacked duplexes. Some of them are side-by-side duplexes. Some of them are carriage houses where there's a single garage with a residential unit on top. And they do all types of different styles of actual units inside the development. And what they found was other people really wanted them other than college students, young professionals, retirees. They love these things because they're heavily amenitized. They are, a lot of times they're still detached or at least maybe only have 1 or up to 4 units in one building instead of 24 stacked units. So it became a very popular building style, and we started seeing it all over the U.S., both in student living use as well as traditional market rate uses, specifically targeted to young professionals, young married couples, retirees, things like that. So I do think that is a possibility that you could see this again come before you for a request for that type of development instead of a garden-style apartment. But like I said, that modification would have to be approved by Planning Commission and City Council in the form of a PUD amendment.
That's right.
I just wanted to state again, as a community leader, as an elected official, my concerns for this specific project. Again, I do like that it's a mixed-use community. I think that's something we've been asking for a lot. So I don't have a problem with that necessarily, but I've got to look past the project itself and look at the bigger picture. And like I said, this specific spot troubles me for a few reasons. One of them is the infrastructure side of things, which is the road in and out. Right now, it's basically got, you know, some light industrial in that area, and they typically go out 31 or 82. We're changing the dynamic, putting this in there. We're gonna have delivery trucks and moms and dads and kids and everybody driving all up and down that road in all directions now. So that infrastructure on the road is a big concern. We've got additional city resources that are now gonna be committed to a very dense area. I wish there was half the size of what it is, to be honest with you, as far as homes. I wouldn't mind them being, you know, these are my concerns I have as a community leader. We've got close proximity to an industrial site. I mean, I don't know what kind of future complaints we'll have around this being close to an industrial area. You know, right now, our neighborhoods are a little further down the road from any of that. So these are the bigger picture things I'm trying to look at as a elected official that my constituents have echoed to me. They have concerns around us building in the future. And one of the reasons I'm glad I'm on the planning committee to echo those back. So.
All right. Any more questions, any more comments? One thing concerned me is that the water flow. Once you build all those units, you're gonna get a torrential water flow, especially with the elevation of the properties. How are you gonna control that?
So, you know, right now, if you were to go out and look at some of this property, there is the majority of this entire site drains to a location that is where you see the phase 1 notation. Just south of that, there's 2 big green areas. Those, Ms. Carpenter, are exactly what you were referring to earlier. That is true detention. There is a large drainage path that travels over there. What we are proposing to alleviate that specific concern is do a regional detention facility at that location that will handle essentially, I don't know, 60 or 70% of the detention requirement for the whole site, because all of that currently drains through that point, and you want to have that water collected, detained, and properly released before it goes to Highway 82. So that's going to be our proposal. You'll have a detention there. You'll have detention, like I said, some between the commercial and the Phase 7 in yellow. You'll have additional detention to the north, very, very north end of the site. There will also be a detention facility up there that will handle what doesn't go south, goes north, and it will be collecting that area.
All right?
Blake, being that as large as it is, would it not go to a retention? Is there a reason why it would not be a retention to?
Well, it could.
There's another
the-
pond
the-
and a lake for a neighborhood. It's just,
The
most
soil
folks don't know that it is.
characteristics determine that, and the soil characteristics specifically in Prattville, typically in the higher elevation areas in Prattville, don't really lend themselves to true retention ponds because of one of the great things about building, especially infrastructure in Prattville, roads, is the amount of sand that is inside the clay makes it very easy to work, and it dries well. And when we're under heavy construction development here and we get this huge rain event, the contractor can sometimes go back to work the next day. If I do that same rain event happens on a site that we have in Auburn or Opelika, we're shut down for 4 or 5 days because that is such a heavy, tight clay with no sand in it. It doesn't drain well. What it does do is it retains water very well when you build a pond. So when you try to build a pond in the higher elevation areas of Prattville, essentially the water just runs out the bottom. So the soil characteristics are really what determine that.
All right?
I think with your explanation about water that you just pointed out, the only green space that isn't a detention area is the triangle in the middle of that, whatever, and the buffer between the yellow and the estates, and that other little thing. So there's not a lot of green space.
Well, so part of the thought process on this, when you start looking at green space for a development, one of the major concerns is what does a development look like from the current roadway infrastructure? And that was one of the great things about this project, and working with the family They really had a desire to let Doster Road continue to look a lot like Doster Road looks now. And that's where we came up with the big estate lot idea. And so what you're gonna see is you're gonna drive down Doster Road and not see a sea of houses. You're gonna see a lot of the same trees that are there now with a house every 400, 500, 600 feet in there inside the trees. So a lot of that is gonna continue to provide the green space feel for the whole development. It is not active green space for the development. That main triangle up there is a significant piece of property in as far as residential development goes. If you think about the big park in Glenbrook that everybody loves, that is actually the same size as that big park. And what we intend to do is utilize that and probably some additional pocket parks and things like that located throughout the development.
So you just said there could be additional green space?
Yes, ma'am. Anytime that we
Because the
can.
thing about Glenbrook is there is, you know, surprise green
Sure.
space throughout. So you're saying, and that's another thing I want to reiterate, all this has to come back through planning, every stage and
Yes, ma'am.
phase, because it is a PUD.
Correct.
This is not in stone,
Not by any stretch of the
because you just
imagination.
said there is an opportunity for more.
Every time we design, we're gonna be looking for areas where you can create those dog parks, this
small.
property doesn't really lend itself well to walking trails. It's one of the, it's one of the few pieces of property in Prattville that doesn't have very large gullies associated with it and streams crossing it. So it doesn't lend itself real well to a lot of the walking trail idea. So what you do here is you try to find corner pocket parks where, you can have passive green space where people can have it, they can utilize it, but it's not a big open play field. It's not a true like rural nature trail or anything like that. That triangular area will be the main amenity site. It'll be where the pool is located and, playgrounds and stuff like that. But you'd be trying to find additional locations to possibly separate some of that. I'm a big proponent of, I like to pull a playground out of the main amenity site and put a playground at a different location and try to spread people's recreational activities
So
apart.
you're saying there could be opportunities?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Any more questions or comments? Hear none, I call for the question. All in favor?
You gotta read it in.
Well, have this one been read in? Would you please read it in, Ms. Cochran?
Preliminary Master Plan, Doster Farms, PUD, May 21st, 2026. Whereas Blake Rice, BSIE, has presented a preliminary master plan of Doster Farms, PUD, for consideration by the Planning Commission. And whereas the proposed development is located inside the city limits off Doster Road, Doster Cutoff, and Highway 82 Bypass East. Whereas a public hearing for the proposed plan was held on May 21, 2026. And whereas the city department heads have reviewed and commented on the proposed plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby makes the following findings: that the proposal substantially conforms to or meets: 1, the comprehensive plan; 2, the intent, objectives, flexibility, and general requirements of the planned unit development district; 3, the proposal is conceptually sound in that it meets a community need and conforms to accepted design principles in the proposed street system, land use configuration, open space system, and drainage and utility systems. 4, there are adequate services and utilities available in the construction of the development. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby approves the Doster Farms PUD preliminary master plan. So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Any further comment?
Yes, sir, if I might. Thank you. It's been some pretty good communication up here. I really like that. It's, you've helped answer some of my questions and concerns, and there are certain portions of this PUD that I like very, very much. And I'm glad to see that projects like this are coming. But there was several other questions that came up and, or comments, and some of it has been about a little bit of difference in the traffic there at Fairview and also at Highway 82. But I don't think one item I did not pick up on, the big difference between the Fairview Avenue area and Highway 82 is going to be the speed and also the type of traffic. I know on Fairview, there might be some trucks in there, but it's basically for delivery trucks only. There should not be any pulpwood trucks, that type of heavy trucks. Obviously, we have in some areas around here, we have more than one area that we have some industrial going on. And we have had some complaints over the years about, especially off of County Road 4, where we've had our South Industrial Park for many, many years. And then that subdivision was allowed to come in there, and there's been a lot of complaints from a lot of that neighborhood because of some of our industrial partners. I have a lot of reservations about this project being in the area that it is. The other thing about traffic as well is that a lot of this traffic, some of it will be going out on Highway 31. I have not, there was nothing mentioned about improvement of that acceleration lane there, and it is in need of work as well. It was mentioned a little bit about a child's place, which is also Pratt Park. I have a lot of concerns of how, what is that, Doster Road, Doster Street, Pratt Street, or Water, I don't think, but that little intersection is a challenge already, and we have been able to do some traffic calming in there, but that was never mentioned in the study. There's also a big curve over on the Fairview side of town, but if someone was happening to run off of it, they could easily get back on. There's a big curve right down the road from here, and I know how dangerous it can be because I actually had a schoolmate that died in high school because he did not make the curve, and there's a big drop off there. I don't know that that was mentioned. Another component as well, it was talked about on the multifamily, but I think it was mentioned it was going to be a separate type entity, and I have a lot of reservations about that. That's some unknowns that we don't know about. I've also have asked that for us to look as a commission and also on the councilors as well, for us to go back and look at our R2, R3, R4, and also our overall master plan. And because Prattville has grown and changed a lot since the master plan that we have right now. And I think that it needs to be looked at sooner than later. The one other item that I wanted to mention as well was, has not been mentioned today, is also education. And I spent several hours in Montgomery today and looking over potential education options here and there. And there's a lot of concerns about the impact of a large development like this one on education. Now, recently there was on Highway 82, but further on down, Rivervale was before council and so forth, which that's actually in Elmore County. So it's a little, it's not apples to apples there. And so there's so many different small things on this one that has, for me, to have a lot of reservations. And where I think eventually one day this will be a really good model, I think, set up for our community. But in my book right now is not the time. Thank you.
All right, any more comments or questions? Here none, I call for the question. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Did you get a count? Please raise your right hand. All in favor.
How about an abstention?
Pardon?
Abstention? abstention?
Right.
All in favor and all against? Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
Did you get a count, Max? Let's do it again. I'm calling for the vote. All in favor of this resolution, please raise your right hand. Did you get a count? All opposed, raise your hand. Thank you. What's your count? Pardon? 5-3. It takes 6. So, it's 5-3. This is a preliminary.
If I may get some clarification?
Come on.
To my knowledge, this is not a preliminary plat. This is just a preliminary master plan.
Master plan.
I know of no requirement that requires 6 votes by state code to approve a preliminary master plan.
All right?
A simple majority of a quorum should suffice.
So it's not, okay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. We move on to item 2, and this is a zoning amendment, a T1 FAR to PUD, location Highway 82 bypass, East Doster, cut off Doster Road. The owner, Private Development Group, Matthew Woodard. This is a public hearing.
This is a request for a zoning map amendment from T1 Manufactured Home Subdivision District and FAR Forest Agriculture and Recreation to PUD Planned Unit Development. This request is associated with the prior preliminary master plan that you considered. Again, the property is 262 acres. The current zoning, as I said, is FAR and T1. The proposed zoning is PUD, Planned Unit Development. And the future land use designation is a mixture of low-density residential, medium-density residential, and light industrial. As you can see from the map, the surrounding area consists of residential and manufactured homes to the north, residential and institutional to the west, undeveloped land, which is outside the city limits, and industrial to the south, and industrial and undeveloped land to the east. The proposed PUD is separated from properties to the east by the railroad. The residential component is accessed via Highway 82, Doster Road and Doster Cutoff. The commercial component will be accessed via Highway 82 and Doster Cutoff. Buffers concurring with Article 10 of the zoning code will be included along the edges of the site. Again, as you heard previously, a traffic study has been submitted which makes certain recommendations. These recommendations would not necessarily come into play until after phase 1 of the development, which is the estate lots. The applicant has identified certain uses that will require special exceptions even after the potential rezoning. That would be alcohol sales on premises for consumption, a fueling facility and fast food establishments, although a final determination of the commercial uses has not been finalised yet. Based on the foregoing, planning staff finds the proposed rezoning from FAR and T1 to planned unit development to be substantially consistent with the Prattville 2040 comprehensive plan and mostly compatible with surrounding land uses. And I'm saying mostly because you do have those industrial uses to the east of the proposed development.
All right, thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Does anyone like to get up and speak? This is a public hearing. You gotta come up to the mic.
Oh, okay.
Si-
Are there gonna
One
be-
minute, Mom. You gotta, sign your name in, and then let us know who you are and your address.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
is that on?
And what's your name and your address, your
I
location?
did. Whoops, I forgot the R.
What's your name?
Linda Peacock,
Oh, and
And
where
I-
you live?
111 Lina Drive.
All right. Go ahead and speak now, ma'am.
And that's my main concern, is all this, that line of drive goes way up there. Are they gonna be in our back door or what? If they were to build something? Also, someone told me there might be a few small retail stores in that area. Was I told wrong?
We don't have all the detailed information at this moment. We're not sure yet.
Well, according to that thing up there, it goes all the way to Lina Drive.
Yes.
My concern is, could those people, proposed new people, cut through Lina Drive? Because we have a tremendous problem with traffic. We're near two schools. You can't get home, you can't go to the doctor, and I don't want any more traffic cutting through there.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, we got someone to answer that for you. Appreciate the questions.
But it goes all the way up there. It looks like to me they could cut through. I don't know.
But Thank you so much, ma'am. Blake, would you answer that for her? Blake, would you answer that for her?
I can. I had to look up the location of Lina Drive. Lina Drive is the property, the road that you can see at the very, very top of the layout on the other side of the railroad tracks. I believe that development's been going on for some time, and there's continues to be, I think, a few small additions to it. There is no connectivity across the railroad track, so nothing of this project would connect in.
I was talking about land, right at the top. Could they cut through there?
No, ma'am.
No railroad tracks.
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing. Anyone else like to come up and speak?
My name is Virginia Erfman, and I also live on Lino Drive. I live on the opposite side than Linda does. My property backs up to the railroad track, so any development is going to be just
Speak a
across the
little louder in
railroad
your
track.
mic, ma'am. Would you speak a little louder so we could hear it in your mic?
Our property backs up to the railroad track, so any development is going to be right across from our backyard, and the only thing separating us will be the train track. They're already developing at the end of Lina, that development that comes around off of Honeysuckle, and it's really not just a small thing to us, because that has included probably 200 to 300 houses, and there's property still that will be developed as that phase goes on, I'm sure. But my biggest concern is no matter where development is made, like the one on Doster Road, those people that move in, they're not going to stay there. They're going to get in their cars and they're going to come into the community. And already you cannot get out on the main drags in Prattville, especially on Cobbs Ford Road. You cannot get out of businesses. And used to it was when work people got off or when school was out. But my husband and I both retired, and we go out in the mornings before people get off work. We don't go out on the weekends if we can help it. But even at those times of the day, you can hardly access the road to get out of, like Lowe's. With the way everything is going with the Lowe's road over there, you have to watch and be very careful. If there's not a traffic light where you want to access, you're stuck. And the overall thing of all the development in Prattville has just been overwhelming. There's no farmland left, we're getting to the point where you don't have a large green space. And you can have a green space and have one tree, but with all of the construction that's going on in every direction that you come into Prattville or leave Prattville, and it goes all the way out into the rural communities that used to be farmland. And I'm just concerned about what it's going to do to the internal part of the city when you can't even get out of a community. And at the community that we live in over on Lina, there is not any egress that has a traffic light. We're at the mercy of the traffic. And you can go up by the Y, but there's traffic coming up and down Main Street. You can come out on 32, but there's traffic going. There used to be a traffic light there close to where the church is, but there's not a traffic light there anymore. And so every direction that we try to leave our neighborhood is blocked by traffic. And I was trying to get here this afternoon and came out by Wingtown, and the car washes across the street. There's coffee shop on one side and Wingtown on the other, and a traffic light on 31, and it's just impossible sometimes to even get out of our community. And with all this other building in every direction, then I'm afraid it's just clogging up the internal traffic flow of the city. As in football games, fine. I'm used to that. I was born here. But when it becomes a 24/7, 7 days a week, it's becoming a great concern of how quickly the town has changed over the past 45 years that we have been back in Prattville. And like I say, it's just development in every direction that you go. And like I say, I don't have any problem with progress. But like I say, those 600 cars that he was talking about, they're not going to stay on Doster Road. They're going to filter into every place that everybody has business going on. And it's just a great concern to me that my little sleepy town has turned into such a busy, busy place. And I don't know how other people feel about progress, but progress isn't always the best product.
All right,
But,
thank you very much for the info.
I appreciate you
All right.
giving me the time.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else like to get out and speak? Hearing none, Mr. Newman, would you read in the resolution?
Whereas Blake Rice, BSI Incorporated, has submitted a request to rezone the property as described in Attachment A and shown in Attachment B, and whereas the subject property is located inside the city limits of Doster Road, Doster Cutoff, and Highway 82 Bypass East, and whereas the petitioner wishes to rezone approximately 262 plus or minus acres property from T1 Manufactured Home Subdivision District and FAR forest agricultural recreational to PUD planned unit development. And whereas a public hearing on proposed zoning amendment was held by the Prattville Planning Commission on May 21, 2026, now therefore be it resolved, the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby recommends the rezoning of said property from T1 FAR to PUD. So moved.
Do I hear a second? All right, any further discussion?
I do want to say something real quick again around the topic that was just discussed. This is the concerns that I have around this specific development location. The development itself, the type of development, a mixed-use community is something I've been saying we need to do for us. So the concept of this is not an issue for me. But I ran on a position of progress, but surgical progress, whether it's a development, housing development, whether it's a business. I want to make sure we get the right spot for what we're doing. And, you know, Doster Road, like I said, is one of these locations where it hasn't been a road that has been historically heavily traveled, and the amount of density that this particular project brings to that area will increase the traffic 10 times on that road. And even if the majority of the traffic goes out 82 or 31 doesn't even have a traffic signal at it to make a left turn on. We get too many homes sometimes in the wrong place before our infrastructure is ready for it. And I don't, I just want to go on record as stating, great concept, wrong location, my opinion.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Mr. Adams, I'd like to ask you a question now. What we're voting on in just a moment, this is a recommendation to the council?
Yes.
Okay, so it will be coming back up. There'll be another time for a public hearing and more public input. So just want to make that clear for the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions or comment? Hear none, I call for the question. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. You get to count. Thank you very much. Now, we'll move into new business. And new business, this is a public hearing as well, and this is zoning amendment from R3 to T1. Location is 123 Pickett Street. And this is a public hearing, and the owner is Ms. Anderson. Yeah.
This is a request to rezone the property at 123 Pickett Street from R3 Single Family Residential to T1 Manufactured Home Subdivision District. This is an aerial of the property. There's only a shed on it at the moment. The zoning map shows the current zoning is R3, and the future land use has this property as mixed-use residential. One of the concerns about this request is the minimum lot width required for T1 zoning is 60 feet. The subject property has a width of approximately 50 feet. That was scaled from the map. So even if this rezoning were to go ahead, then any sort of construction would require some sort of variance. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from R3 to T1 to allow for the installation of a manufactured home. The property has street connectivity to Pickett Street. Staff recommends disapproval of the proposed zoning amendment, as this request would constitute spot zoning, which isn't necessarily illegal, but it is determined to be not best practices with regard to planning and zoning. And additionally, the future land use map indicates this location as mixed-use residential. So therefore, the recommendation from staff is to disapprove this request.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Does anyone else like to get up and speak? This is a public hearing. All right. Oh, I didn't see her.
Good afternoon.
Ms. New?
This is my first time attending a meeting such as, but I'm here to petition the bringing in to mobile homes into Pickett and Pegler Street. And the reason I'm opposing it is because we have worked hard building houses down there, and it's a housing community. We're not a trailer park, and we feel that if the more trailer parks come into where we worked hard and built our homes, our houses is not worth anything. I'm a living witness. I remodeled my house, went to a financial institution, and they told me they said, you have a beautiful home. Everything is perfect. But the mobile homes, they would not invest in my house and my property because of the mobile homes. So if I'm all for anybody want to build a house. We're trying to bring up Spring Hill. Spring Hill is where I was born and raised. There are people that still live there that was there before I was even born. Now, of course, they can't attend. They're up in their 90s. They done got older. But I have some signatures. We want to build our community up. I have nothing against mobile homes, but mobile homes need to be where mobile homes need to be. I haven't worked hard for 40-some years to invest in something that has no value. And that's what our homes that we're building down there, the people that are building houses, that's the result of what we're building. We're being told our houses that we've worked hard to build are not really worth anything because of the mobile homes. The people that want to put the mobile homes there, they don't even live there. They just putting them there to rent them out. You know? And I just don't think that's fair to us as homeowners who's trying to build not just Spring Hill up, we're trying to build Prattville back up. You know? We're trying to make our ancestors and our grandparents and parents, I'm trying to make mine proud because they worked hard on Pegler Street. And that street was named after my grandfather. So I'm trying every day to pass a legacy on that my grandparents and parents passed on to me, to my grandkids. You know, everything is not about making money. If you want to make money, go into a place where you can sell, rent, buy, whatever. I'm in the food business. I opened up a restaurant. Hey, I got enough property down there in Piglet Street, I could have put a restaurant in the back of my house. But it's not for that. This is where we live, and this is where we want to invest in. We want to, it's so much that we want to do down there. And I got people behind me that want to do it. People want to come back home and invest in what they already have. I could have built my house anywhere. But why, when it was left to me by my grandparents? So it's some trailers down there. Maybe we can't do nothing about those that's down there already. But I tell you one thing, we're gonna work hard to make them fix them up. Because Spring Hill is a beautiful community. We just need people that care about Spring Hill. we're tired now. We're tired of all the stuff that's going on in Spring Hill. It's been going on for too long. And I'm ready to take a stand. If they want to build a house, build your house. You ain't got to build no mansion. Just build something that you can rent out that's gonna have value for all of us, not just you. So I definitely 100% don't want to see no more trailers. We barely got room for the houses that your people's trying to build down there because of the roads. So we get the wrong peoples in the neighborhoods. And I ain't picking on nobody because I ain't always been where I'm at, but I thank God I made it out. I made it to where I'm at. You know, we trying to clean it up down there. We trying to build stuff that we want to leave to our grandkids. And stuff that when whoever get to be elected official over that district, when they come through Spring Hill, they'll be proud to say, that's in my district.
All right.
So I'm saying no, and I'm speaking on some people that want to be here, but they just can't be here.
Well, we thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
sir.
what's your name and address?
My name is
For record.
Ann Pigler Ross. My address is 880 Pigler Street and 884 Pigler Street. I have two addresses.
All right.
Thank you.
We thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing.
And Mr. Chair, if I might, while he's coming up, the petition she was talking about was handed out to everyone up here, so, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jesse Myers. We have property.
What's your address?
The address is 885 Pigler Street.
Thank you.
We also have property at 905 Pigler Street. What I'm basically coming to actually talk about is the fact of the same thing that Ann talked about, trailers. We've owned that property in Spring Hill since 1957, and we don't want to see it diminish with trailers. We had trailers in there. We'd like to see those trailers either gone, not replaced, but single-family homes. And that basically is what I'm actually asking for today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. This is a public hearing.
Hi, I am Tangerette Anderson. And that address is 123 Pickett Street. It will be the address that I will be moving to. And I would like to clarify something. I'm not bringing in a mobile home there to rent it out. I am a disabled veteran. If you look at me, you may not see my illnesses. You may not see.
Speak up, please, so everybody.
You cannot see my illnesses or what's going on with me. I live in Millbrook, but I'm trying to move closer to my family where I can have somebody to help me with when going through my surgeries and all of that. And speaking too on the property values, as of a mobile home, as of right now that I have been looking at, the mobile homes now cost more than any of those properties that's down there. So if anything, a mobile home that I looked at was $180,000. If anything, it's gonna bring the property value up, not bring it down. All of those homes have been there for, over 40 years. I'm 56. So those homes have been there, so of course, they're not even worth that much anymore. I'm sorry. I am a disabled vet, like I said, and I do have some issues, but anyway, anxiety. But I'm not trying to rent anything out. I'm not trying to make any money. I'm trying to worry about my health that's left here for the rest of the time on this earth. That's what I'm trying to do for me, because right next door to me is my mother's house, and I have family there. I have family. I was born and raised right there in Spring Hill. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to bring anybody's property value down, excuse me. I'm just trying to live and be able to live freely and healthy with some people that can be there to help me along the way. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Is it anyone else like to come up and speak?
Yes, sir. I'm one trying to put a house there on Pickler Street.
Give us your name and address, please, and please write it in our booklet there.
Well, I don't have my glass with my wife. Be right back in. She can do that.
What's your name and address?
Where I live at now,
Yes.
I live at 145 Michigan Drive, Casada. I'm trying to get a trailer put in down there on Pickler Street for my daughter. She's in Ohio, and she had sickness issues before she left home. And I own, it's the second lot on the Pickler Street is to get on there. Earl Willis the one that owned it, and he left it to my daughter. I'm his son-in-law. And I took it over and kept it till she got grown. Now she in Ohio. She want to move home. And I'm the one that went a trailer to go on the Pickler Street. So I'm buying a trailer to go down there for my daughter to come home. And she fell in Winn-Dixie before she left here and messed her back up. So I wanted to come home.
All right, sir.
So, but I can get you the address in just a minute to Pickler Street. Okay, go ahead.
It's 925 Pickler Street in Providence.
Go ahead.
925 Piglet, you need to write it in our booklet so we have it recorded. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is it anyone else like to come up and speak? This is a public hearing. Is it anyone else like to come up and speak? Hearing none, I close the public hearing. Mr. Mullen, would you read in the resolution?
Resolution, zoning amendment R3 to T1, Tangernet L. Anderson, petitioner, May 21st, 2026. Whereas Tangernet L. Anderson has submitted a request to rezone the property as described in Attachment A and shown in Attachment B, and whereas the subject property is located inside of the city limits at 123 Pickett Street, and whereas the petitioner wishes to rezone the approximately .17 acre property from R3 family to T1 manufactured home, and whereas a public hearing on the proposed zoning amendment was held by the Prattville Planning Commission on May 21st, 2026. Now therefore it be resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby recommends the rezoning of said property from R3 to T1. So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further comment?
I had a question. Mr. Adams, you referred to spot zoning. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, spot zoning is when you take a piece of property and try to change the zoning that is inconsistent with the zoning round about it. There's a lot of information online, a lot of it contradicts each other, there's a lot of different opinions. Some people say if you rezone something, it should be adjacent to that zoning, so the zoning continues. Other opinions state that the zoning can be in the general area, so not necessarily adjacent to the lot, but close to it. The general opinion is that spot zoning could only be considered certainly if the proposed new zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future land use. This is not, because the future land use is for mixed-use residential. Other people suggest that spot zoning may be acceptable if, one, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, but two, there is some sort of general public benefit with it, maybe a park or, you know, maybe even a hospital or something. It's not considered illegal. However, it is certainly discouraged, and the general consensus is that if you spot zone something and it's appealed and it ends up in court, then the chances are you're actually going to lose. In court. But at the very least, it should be consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's really to stop a property owner from taking a piece of property, applying for a zoning that's completely inconsistent with the zoning around it for their benefit only. And that's really what spot zoning is.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask a question you may not know the answer to, because I don't, and you're newer than I am, but maybe somebody on the board or the mayor may know. What's our precedent in the past around spot zoning, Ben? What I don't want to do is set a precedent.
Yeah, I looked through a number of the rezoning requests over the past year or so, and I could find no mention of spot zoning. So I'm really not sure how it has been dealt with in the past, but once you start considering spot zoning, my opinion is you're opening the doors.
Right, so I want to make sure I understand. I'm going to repeat back. This is a textbook example of a spot zoning request. Spot zoning is generally frowned upon and typically not done for the simple fact that once you start cherry picking a specific zoning type of thing, you basically do away with any kind of comprehensive plan or regular zoning requirements or activities.
Yeah, and you know, in certain cases it may be considered, but it would need to be consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Sure.
It couldn't purely be for the property owner's benefit, and there should be some sort of public benefit. Is really the sort of few amount of cases where you could possibly consider it.
All right, I see that as a big hurdle.
All right.
I think there's another element also. I believe the lot is the width is not there. It's about 10 feet short. So not only would we be spot zoning, which may or may not be okay or set a precedence, but it would be busting our own zoning ordinance on top of it, I believe. That be correct?
Yeah, you would be creating a non-conforming lot.
Right.
1 minute. Any further comment from?
And thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to bring it up some, and I know in the staff report here, I'll actually recommend to deny it, was that because of the spot zoning and also because of the width or of the lot there, because the width of the lot has jumped up out of the page at me.
Yeah, it's really all three. Number one, it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan. Number two, this would likely be regarded as spot zoning. And number three, if we did rezone it, we would be creating a non-conforming lot.
Any further comments? Ms. Anderson, she wants to speak. Maybe if it's something that she missed. Please.
I wanted to build on that lot, but the lot is not wide enough to put a house on. That's what I ultimately wanted to do. So they said it wasn't wide enough to do that, but it is long enough wide to put a mobile home on it further to the back. So that's.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. They give you a reason why you could not build a house on there?
It wasn't big enough for a house. I can go up, but I wouldn't have nothing on the side. I would be on my neighbor's property here or here.
So I think the lot's 50 feet wide.
Yeah,
And,
so.
but you might be able to get some variances, but you're supposed to have, help me
So
out,
much.
5 feet on each side?
I wouldn't have any.
Okay.
I wouldn't have any. So and even to the road, for the road, from the road to the front door, it's supposed to be so much. And so that's why I was saying a mobile home, because I can put it further to the back to have that variance for whatever that is from the front. That easement that's what it's called, from the front door to the road. So that's why I was
Well, I certainly do appreciate your service. Sorry you're going through your health issues there, but, you know, this is something we have to look at it from the bigger picture on it, and if there's anything I can do to, or anything staff can do to help walk you through getting a house built there, I'll be glad to help you out any way I can.
all right, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there any more questions or comments? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't.
All opposed, let it be known by raising your right hand. Thank you very much. Okay. Now. Huh? Number 4. Yeah, I know. I know. And this is a public hearing. Number 4, it's a public hearing. Hear none? We close the public hearing. Okay, and, let me see. Mr. Allen, would you read it in? The resolution.
Resolution zoning amendment from R3 to T1, Bonzel Purnell Jr. petitioner, May 21st, 2026. Whereas Bonzel Purnell Jr. has submitted a request to rezone the property as described in Attachment A and shown in Attachment B, and whereas the subject property is located inside the city limits at 925 Pegler Street, and whereas the petitioner wishes to rezone the approximate 0.5 acre property from R3 to T1, and whereas a public hearing on the proposed zoning amendment was held by the Prattville Planning Commission on May 21st, 2026, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby recommends the rezoning of said property from R3 to T1. I so move.
All right.
Second.
Yeah, second. All right. Are there any further comments? Call for the question. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion failed. Thank you. Any further comment? If not, meeting's adjourned.